Alright, good evening. Now, a lot of you out there may know me as the author E.P. Grandi, the fellow who wrote Man and Impact in the Americas, the catalog of asteroid and comet impacts during man's occupation of the Americas. Also, one of the few books of Native American history that actually stops at European contact. I wasn't always this fellow. Back, you can see here, I was a reporter. I didn't work for NASA. I covered NASA and other nations' space programs, in particular that of Russia and China. One of the stories that I wrote was on this, which is the Soviet orbital weapons platform that they developed as a response to Reagan's Star Wars initiative. Here it is being launched. Mikhail Gorbachev realized that this thing would be like a Chernobyl in orbit and dumped it into the Pacific Ocean. Or at least that's the story that's being put out. Here you can see with a different writing on it, Polyus instead of Mir. Here I am hard at work at a nice little reception for the shuttle missions to Mir in 1997. Now, another scuba line. I was the first Western journalist to spot the renewed Chinese manned space program. This was a very small illustration. I happened to notice the escape rocket up top, which allowed me to work out the dimensions of the capsule and to realize that it was for their current series of launchers. Now, in 1997, there was a movie called Asteroid, about an asteroid impact. Kathy Sawyer of the Washington Post wrote a review of this and said nobody had ever been killed by an impact. I remember that Soviets had determined that there were 4 people killed by the Tunguska impact. Instead of going to my clip file and looking that up, I went online and discovered the work of Victor Klube and Bill Napier. Hi guys. At that point I realized that NASA had made a bad mistake. The Earth protects the moon from asteroids and comet impacts. And the NASA impact estimate was based solely on lunar data. The moon and the Earth form a combined system. The result of this was that NASA's impact hazard estimate was about 1,000 times too low. I was pretty well floored by this, and to give you an idea how things have gone since then, when I began reporting on the impact hazard, these little black dots represented the known impact freighters. This is a current map of known impact freighters. What you'll notice in this is that wherever there's geologists, the impact freighters are found. That's why you have these spaces here in South America and Africa and up in Siberia where the scientists haven't been looking for them. Also, there's only we can expect that actually the surface of the Earth will look like these areas of the densest population of craters, and that includes the floors of the ocean. Work has just started on recovering oceanic impacts, and you can see a few of the ones that have been identified so far. Now, you've all probably heard about how an asteroid impact killed the dinosaurs. And this gives you an idea how the world looked when they were killed. 66 million years ago, roughly. That's where the impactor hit. Looks a lot different than the world we have today. To give you an idea how much force this thing had, this thing goes down for miles. This is a map of the Shishlu crater way down. Now, this is a map of near-Earth asteroids, the ones that are known so far. We are, well, let's see, Mercury, Venus, there's Earth. That's us right there in the midst of this mess. You see Jupiter out here, and most of the asteroids are between Mars and Jupiter. Titius Bode law of distribution of matter in our accretion disk. The problem with all of this is that it wasn't an asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. It was a comet impact, and we know this because we have what they call the KT fossil meteorite with the little cometary fragments inside of it. Now, this is an entirely different beast as far as impact hazard goes. Comets will come in from the Oort cloud. And right now we'd have about 18 months of warning of a cometary impact, if that, if something came in. And we've got to do better than that because you're playing for all the marbles. Everybody that's currently alive, everybody that will be alive, everything on the Earth. In relative scales, compared to the cometary impact hazard, sending men to Mars is like fun but not essential. Now, I'm going to get end of lecture. Now, dinosaurs weren't the only animal affected by impact events. This little tree ape, who used to hang out in the with the elephants in the pastures in Africa, also was affected by it. What I'm going to be presenting is mainly work from Dr. Pizer and Payne of Spacebar Guard, Australia. To give our volcanological brethren their due, we have also had catastrophic volcanic impacts during human evolution, which have also led to massive climate collapses. But generally, people are able to get out of the way. Of course, Yellowstone being one volcanic trap of current concern, certainly to most people out in Montana. So what I'm going to be covering, though, is the impacts and their climate collapses going from 5 million years ago up to the current time. And you can see that they're spaced out from severe global effects down to severe regional effects. And the fossil record actually gives us a better map on how bad these impacts were and their effects. Let's start off here with Big Ak, Kazakhstan. This is only 174,000 Hiroshimas in force, an 8-kilometer crater that occurred over here. Now, why is this important to human evolution? Because the dust from out of that 8-kilometer crater went up into the atmosphere. And depending upon the composition of the crust that the asteroid or comet hits, that crater film will become airborne and block out sunlight, leading to what's usually known as a nuclear winter by many people nowadays. But essentially our ancestors starved. And the next one we're going to go down to here is Karakul, Tajikistan. This was 88 billion Hiroshimas in force, a 52-kilometer crater. That occurred over here in Kazakhstan. Now, one of the things that's interesting to me about this is how these impacts give a very distinctive landscape. It's quite beautiful and striking to us because we're not used to it. That's pretty damn spectacular. Next, this is Rotor Cam, Namibia. It's only 3,600 Hiroshimas in force, crater 2.5 kilometers. One of the reasons why this is important is because it's closer to the center of hominid evolution, our ancestors' evolution up along the Great Rift Valley. This one is Elgajatan, Russia, which was 2,600,000 Hiroshimas in force and a crater of 18 kilometers. And that's way off here in Siberia, quite a ways from the center of hominid evolution at this time. Again, you have these spectacular landscapes. Now, by this point, our ancestors were up there using sharp sticks and rocks that had sharp edges. As is put, you have a small capacity for reason, some basic tool-making skills, and the use of a few simple words. Yep, that's you. So now, we're down to 2.7 million years ago, Alalel, Mauritania. I just did an estimate of 7,500 Hiroshimas, crater's 390 meters, pretty damn small. The reason why it's important again is because it's close to the centers of hominid evolution. Here's another small one, 2.7 million years ago. Talmazane, Algeria. I put it at 1,100 Hiroshimas, a crater of about a mile, 1,750 meters. Again, you have these spectacular landscapes where these things hit. And again, that is close to where our ancestors are evolving. Now, they often say that an asteroid or comet impact would blow mankind back to the Stone Age. What happened to our ancestors who were at the Stone Age? Well, some of them forgot how to use stone tools, and they reverted back to apes. That's generally known as Australopithecus. Others of our ancestors found out that you could make sharp rocks by pounding one rock against another one. Here we are. This was shortly followed by the amazing discovery that you could use sharp rocks on the end of sticks to kill elephants when they're stuck and stuff. So that's how we dealt with our old friends, the elephants. Ate them. And here was another picture of hypothetical reconstruction of our hominid ancestors. Now at this point, man migrates out of Africa throughout the world. It's much earlier than was originally thought. And you have to remember in this picture, here's another picture with some well-dated sites. I always call these guys Homo heidelbergensis after their initial fossil finding up here, but there's a lot of debate over the names, and I'll let those folks work it out. But you can see that we have these very early dates for what I'll call heidelbergensis or robust erectus coming on out. That's not Homo robustus, that's a robust erectus. Heidelbergensis coming on out from our original evolutionary home. An important thing to note on this map, though, is that sea levels were nowhere like this at the time. The Persian Gulf here was likely to be the Persian River. Same thing with the Red Sea. The landmass of Southeast Asia was pretty well connected. So and of course the climate was incredibly different. And I'm sure that in the years to come there's going to be early fossils found all along here, but unfortunately many of the sites are under 300 meters of water right now, so we'll see. Now this is a very interesting impact, the one at Langong, Malaysia, crater of 4 kilometers, 17,300 Hiroshimas in force, 1.8 billion years ago. and was over here. One of the reasons this is such an important impact is that they actually found taxes in the impact debris. So we can absolutely assert that at least hominids were killed, significant numbers of them were killed by this blast. Now I'm going to do, this is New Quebec, Canada. 27.7 million tons of vaporized rock, a crater of 3.4 kilometers. This did a lot to shape what the areas in North America that humans would be occupying later. Now this is Botswana, Ghana, 1.3 million years ago. Again, a small impact, 10,400 Hiroshimas, but it was close to the area of initial hominid evolution, which is one of the reasons why it's significant. Again, we have these spectacular landscapes that are produced by impact events. It's really quite scenic. Now we're getting down to one that is very significant. Zaminshan, Kazakhstan. Crater of 14 kilometers, 1,100,000 Hiroshimas in force 1 million years ago. That occurred over here in Kazakhstan. That impact event led to apparently led to a sufficient climate collapse that led to the extinction of Australopithecus, our earlier ancestors that had gone back to being apes. In Europe, Heidelbergensis evolved into Neanderthal. And in Asia, Heidelbergensis evolved into Homo sapiens. I like this picture. Of course, the blonde hair and blue eyes is apparently a genetic variation that occurred in the last 10,000 years up in the Scandinavian countries. And you'll notice that there were no dinosaurs while there were people. But just remember, Homo sapiens in Asia about 1 million years ago. So now I've covered human impact and human evolution. In my next talk, I'll be talking about the peopling of the Americas.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. Like a boat out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through. Mama, when you wished upon the star, your dreams come true.